Sit back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device. All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, January the 4th, 2023. Jersey Johnny coming at you. And with me, as always, is none other than Mr. RadioPete and Mr. Harry Lug Nutz. Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Happy New Year.
How are you? You know what? I thought about having a noisemaker, but
I had a noisemaker here, I think, till yesterday.
You're sitting on your noisemaker.
I was going to say,
I
figured
one.
The three of us make enough noise. We didn't need any more.
I had an oral noisemaker.
There you go.
Go ahead, make a joke out of that.
The only way to shut up an oral noisemaker.
Exactly. So how are you fine gentlemen today? How was your New Year's?
Uneventful.
Quiet. Football. I mean, craziness.
I played football, yes, in the street.
Football, did you?
Yeah.
By yourself.
Yeah.
You threw a ball high, ran,
Absolutely.
caught it. There you go.
It's the only way to do it is by yourself.
In protest of the college football national playoff games being played on the first round, being played on New Year's Eve, I played Madden NFL on Nintendo 64. Until 11:58, and then I went to sleep.
Before midnight.
Fuck
Just
that.
shut it off. Go. Out.
Pete's own 2-minute warning.
There you go.
Yeah. Which is,
that's
whatever.
always fun. Well, mine was.
No, honestly, in all seriousness, I'm just not. It's not a big deal anymore.
No, I go.
I mean, the kids are older now. They're both seniors. They're not little anymore. It's not a thrill for them to stay up, and it's not a thrill for me to stay up.
They're
and I'm a night owl anyway.
They're both 65.
Yeah, they're both in their 60s. Yeah.
You
So
look great, Pete.
thank you.
Well, he had them really young. So.
It's the Long Island air.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had them 16 and 17 years before I was born.
That's right.
Effectively.
Right.
So that we would be, all around the same age.
Same
They're
age.
older than I am, actually.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, it's just not a big, whatever. It's a new year. Yay.
No, I know. Well, I mean, it was fun. We, hung out a little bit, watched it. Of course, I had to sit up for a few hours after midnight and watch some Honeymooners, but that's me.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the only time. It's the only time of year I watch it.
Talk about being 80 years old.
It's the only time of year I watch it.
Why do you watch the Honeymooners on New Year's?
Because they have a marathon.
Oh, okay.
There's a marathon. Channel 11. Remember Channel 11?
Sure. Is it right after the Jerry Lewis telethon?
Right, pretty much. They have a marathon, so they play all of the classic 39. Right. So I sit up and I watch a few. But anyway, Sunday was just football. Monday was back to work. Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, so we got a few things to talk about tonight. This being the fun show, the first show of 2023. We're gonna do a fun show for the first show of 2023.
Perhaps the first fun show.
The first fun show. Perhaps the first fun show.
Fun show.
Exactly. So let's kick it off with just a quickie. What do you think?
It's quickie.
Just a quickie.
And we're done. Next. Oh.
All right, there you go.
That's pretty quick.
All right. Here we go. We'll start with Harry this time. Harry, true or false? The Giants will win a playoff game.
False.
All right. Pete, same question.
False.
Okay. Harry, back to you. The Jets will win a playoff game.
I'm not Nostradamus, so this question might be trying not to blow our cover. This question might be irrelevant. No, I'm going to say no. How could they?
I'm going with false regardless. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you know what? The question was a little less specific than maybe it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to change my answers to yes on both. I think at some point,
Yes.
the Giants and the Jets will both win a playoff game. I'm tempted to say no for the Jets. Might not be this year,
In our lifetime.
but I think yes.
This
in our
year.
lifetime.
This year.
This year.
Yeah.
Then no and no.
No and no. All right, fair enough. All right, yeah, it's a false for me on both as well. So,
Nice try, guys. We'll see you in September.
We'll see. All right, and there you go. That's our first, just a quickie.
All right. See
So-
you next week, folks. As John would
That's
say.
the show.
In.
Watch a
Hope
lot
you
of
had
football, do a lot of this, do a lot of that, and check us out on Facebook and MySpace.
Don't put tomatoes in your guacamole, folks. It's filler and it's bullshit.
Yeah.
No tomatoes in the guacamole. John is nope.
No, just the two.
John needs a clarity.
Just
What
too
the,
much.
what the hell are you drinking there?
I got a little
Holland water.
little seltzer. Yeah, it's a Bowl and Basket cranberry lime seltzer.
Ugh, Jesus.
Bowl and Basket is
What?
ShopRite's new in-house brand.
What has happened to you? Balls in a basket? Is that what it's called?
Bowl and Basket.
Balls in a basket, but it's strawberry flavor.
Balls have been in a basket for years, but Bowl and Basket.
Balls in a basket, strawberry lime seltzer.
Hey, cranberry lime seltzer. Say.
Cranberry lime.
For when your balls are in a basket, have some
You look-
cranberry lime crap.
If you
There
like
you
your balls flavored, then there's
Like
no other way.
Flavored balls.
Then go to
Speaking of flavored balls, Pete, your OnlyFans post last week.
Well, we had a lot of dipping chocolate left over.
There you
And,
go. I thought so.
I personally love Fondue Friday.
Well, I think the temperature gauge is
It's
going.
it's hard to discern what cheese comes from what region.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about of the world.
Of
I'm
the
talking
world.
of your
Oh,
body.
we know.
Yeah, I think that, like I
Right.
said, the fondue pot is getting on in years, and I think
Right.
the temperature gauge is starting to go, and there
Right.
was some scalding.
It was a
Let's
little
just put it
scalding
that way.
Yeah, that's it.
So we may have to suspend Fondue Fridays for a couple weeks.
If you like
Yeah.
your gruyere from under.
And if you
while
well,
the
you know what?
healing-
Send some extra bucks and just advertise for that, and maybe buy a new fondue pot.
Yeah, that's yeah. I
You
was
need to
hoping
let
get
it.
one-
You need to let it cool.
I was hoping to get one for Christmas, but the people know what it's used for, and they refuse.
They refused. I guess.
Yeah, like I'm not buying it.
Speaking of bowls in a basket, balls in a bowl.
Balls in a bowl. Balls in a bowl. Gotta love that. All right.
Hopefully,
Actually,
there's
I'm saving up. I'm
viewers
saving
involved.
up for the chocolate fountain.
Chocolate fountain. Yeah.
Chocolate
Yeah.
fountain would be nice. That's gonna
Yeah.
be a nice one.
Yeah, that
That's
may
gonna be.
the
It's
next.
that's gonna be instant draw too.
It's gonna be a bit. I mean, you got to save that for like the 4th of July weekend.
Well, maybe.
Yeah,
you can,
actually,
you can
that's a
preview
good
before
idea.
that.
Or Valentine's.
Well, yeah, I
Day.
could.
Valentine's Day.
Maybe Valentine's Day.
It's about the marketing.
Valentine's Day and Easter, quite frankly.
Brought to you by the Hallmark Channel.
Exactly. All right. Shall we move on to our quiz of the night?
Let's move on to the
Fountain,
quiz.
Starting
All right,
Meredith's
not the
Basket
rapid fire
Corner.
quiz. The
Is this
regular
this
quiz.
4 out of 6 quiz?
4 and 2 quiz. The 4 and 2.
4 and 2 quiz.
So,
All right.
tonight's quiz is top New York Giants defensive players from 1980 through 2000.
Oh, Harry's definitely going to win this one.
There's nothing to win.
Top New York Giants defensive players 1980 through 2000. All right. We'll
This
leave
is
that up.
why I have to cheat on the football picks because
Yeah,
these
yeah.
things are always rigged.
These are rigged, right? All right. Write these down. I'm going to give you 6. 4 got to stay. 2 got to go.
I
Write these
pretend to
down.
Write them down.
Michael
Right,
Strahan is out.
Oh, Michael Strahan was on our 2000 through 2000.
Yeah, he's not on this
residents.
list.
He's not on this
All
list.
right, fine. Well,
So here we go.
then I speak the truth.
Quite frankly, this you could even call this a 1980 through 1990 list, but we're going to go 1980 through 2000. We'll call it. Write these down. Here we go. Lawrence Taylor, LT.
Lithuanian.
Systems player.
There you go. Harry Carson.
I like
Harry.
him a lot, actually.
Harry Carson.
He was all right.
A little bit. Carl
He was
Banks.
LT before LT was LT.
Carl
Yeah.
Banks, another guy that was all right.
Carl Banks. Leonard Marshall.
Ah,
Leonard Marshall.
Old Lenny.
Old Lenny. Gary Reasons. Gary Reasons. And Jim Burt. Jim Burt. Once again, Lawrence Taylor,
JB.
Harry Carson, Carl Banks, Leonard Marshall, Gary Reasons, and Jim Burt. If you add George Martin to that list, you got the entire defensive line for the Giants in 1986. So, but yeah, so LT,
they're front seven.
Front
I was
seven.
going to say all 7 of them.
The front seven.
That's why the Giants are so good. 7-man front,
7-man
Well,
line.
2 corners, 2 safeties,
When was
linebackers. Never heard of
This
them.
is the last time the Giants had a 3-4. That's for sure.
This is true. Yeah, you're right. You're right on that one. And good old Burt in the middle. All right.
Yeah.
So, Radio Pete, let us know your thoughts.
All right. Well, the cokehead has to stay. That's Taylor.
Jim Burt.
No,
He's
he's the nose tackle.
No,
Not the nose candy. Harry Carson was really, really good. He was the king shit before LT came along, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he was the best linebacker the Giants had seen in
He's a
decades.
Hall of Famer,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? Isn't Carson in the Hall of Fame?
He's in Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is Banks, right?
Banks is not.
He's not. Should be.
Should be.
Yeah, Carl Banks was really, really good too.
He was.
And Leonard
Quite
Marshall-
frankly, all 6 of these guys are really.
I'm
really
sure
good.
they were. Jim Burt was white, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so
Very
so
white.
he's out. So he's out. And honestly, not that I could name stats or anything really about any of these guys, but I've heard of Gary Reasons slightly less than the other 4, so he's out too. Sorry, Gary. I'm sure you were great, but what did he play?
Inside linebacker.
Interior?
Yeah.
Inside linebacker.
Mhm.
So he was pretty close to Whitey Burt, right? Kind of stand behind him. So
Yes, him and Carson were close to all of them. Yes.
they were right there. They were close.
there we
to
go. Well, I'm just saying, by proximity, he's out by proximity.
He's out by.
Well, there you go.
proximity.
Gary Reasons and Jim Burt.
Gary Reasons and Jim Burt.
Sorry, guys.
I think most people would probably pick the same ones you did. I am going, and this makes no sense because Leonard Marshall was a great player. Obviously, I think he's one of the top moments in Giants history when he took out Joe Montana.
Mhm.
I'm going to keep the linebacking core together. I'm going to keep LT Banks, Harry Carson, and I think the most underrated defensive player in the history of the New York Giants, Gary Reasons.
Mhm.
Gary Reasons.
Gary Reasons was a hell of a linebacker, and he was definitely literally playing in the shadow of 3 of maybe the top 10 linebackers that ever played the game. But he was part of that core, and he also had some incredible plays that were very, very historic and memorable in his time on the Giants, including an incredible goal line fly through the air tackle, and also, you know, the fake punt, which led to a big Giants win. So
Oh yeah.
I love Leonard Marshall. Jim Burt was kind of annoying. Great player, but kind of fucking annoying. But I'm gonna keep the linebackers together.
There you go. I think that's a good way to look at it. So that is. So Radio Pete's going LT, Carson, Banks, and Marshall. And Harry's going LT, Carson, Banks, and Reasons. There you go. Cool. Good job, guys. You can't, I mean, honestly.
Both of us are racists. We don't like Jim Burt.
Well, Gary Reasons is white too, by the way.
Oh,
We're racist because we don't.
It's
It's one of the guys we didn't put on the list was white.
yeah, I think so. I'm pretty
How does
sure
that
that's the
explain
definition
that to
of
me?
racism.
I'm not sure. It's reverse.
Well, I don't have a dictionary right here, but if I could look it up, then we'll
I'm
see.
sure Gary Reasons was part Asian, and that's why I picked him.
There you go.
Jim Burt's name is mentioned in the definition of racism.
If you don't pick him, or if you do pick him,
Either way.
Either way. So you're damned if you do.
I don't think
you're damned
any
if
of
you
this
don't.
had anything to do with race.
There you go.
But
Probably not.
yeah, definitely not. But
There you go.
yeah,
But
yeah.
honestly, quite frankly, with this list, other than LT, and well, probably Harry Carson too, but there was no right. Like you're going to pick LT, you're going to pick Carson, you're going to pick Banks. Any of the other three guys would have been.
It's not like they're right. These two guys are bad choices. No, they're all great players.
Where'd Jim Burt go? Jim Burt won another Super Bowl with somebody else.
San Francisco.
But he wasn't on the 90 team.
He was in San Francisco. The Giants beat Jim Burt to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so fuck Jim Burt.
There you go.
Yeah, fuck that white asshole.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, on that, I mean,
if I had to guess a racist off this list, I'd go with Jim Burt. Now, I'm not saying he was, and it's unfair, but based on looks alone.
If I had to choose the most likely,
I'm going Burt.
Oh, God.
No, that's completely wrong. And
These are the jokes.
for those of you out there, that is called a joke.
Jokes. J-O-K-E. Jokes.
I think Jim Burt would choose himself off that list.
Anyway.
I mean, there's no Joe Flacco, so.
That's true. That's true. Anyway. All right. On that note, I think we should do our rapid fire quiz. What do you think?
All right, let's go.
I think it's time for.
I think I got 3 last time.
What I love about this podcast is it's called Get On With It. Okay. Everything's quickie, rapid fire. We can't get a podcast in under an hour and a half. The most ironic fucking name of everything on this. Top 10 list. Never 10. Okay. Always 15. Okay. It's just everything is ironic.
Well, that's why it's called Get On With It. So.
That's right.
We can't go fast enough.
Can't go. All right. Tonight's rapid fire quiz. Here we go. Last week, Pete came up last week. He was 5-3.
I think Pete's winning this week. That's the way
5-3.
If you let Pete keep score.
It's itching that way. All right. Let's kick it off. Here we go.
10-0 if I keep
Pete's spreadsheet has some interesting quotations factored in.
His algorithms in his spreadsheet formula.
The cells are a little interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. There are some formulas that are.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Not Minnesota.
After my name, there's always a -2.
No, if Minnesota, then loss.
That's right.
No matter what happens.
That's right.
If you
It's a
pick
default.
Minnesota, it's a loss.
It's funny how I start every week 0-2 before the games.
Hey, but it didn't even start yet. All right, here we go. All right, I think this is Pete's week. I think you're right. I think this is Pete's week. Here we go. All right, Pete, we're going to kick it off with you. Here we go.
It's not my week. But...
Ready? Here's question number 1 for Pete. Here we go. In what stadium was Super Bowl III held? That was the Super Bowl where the Jets beat the Colts 16-7. Just in case you were wondering. Super Bowl III. In what stadium was it held in?
I know this.
I have no idea. Do I need to name the city or the name of the stadium?
Honestly, if you name either, you got it right because there was.
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. I think I know the city, but I can't remember what it was called back then. I think I know.
Well, I don't know. Do they? All right, I'm just gonna.
Rapid fire.
I'm going to assume. Look, this is the first championship, right, between the NFL and the AFL, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the third one.
Yeah.
Well,
Super Bowl 3. It's the first one the AFL won.
AFL won, yeah.
Right.
But the AFL was still the upstart league.
Mm-hmm.
But after this, they merged, right?
A year later, yeah.
A year later, all right. So I'll just say Baltimore. I'll assume the NFL gets the home field advantage. I have no idea.
Well, we're talking about the Super Bowl here. The Super
All right,
Bowl.
he answered.
All right.
Okay.
Harry? No.
That's incorrect.
That's incorrect. No.
I think. I'm pretty sure it was in Miami.
It was in Miami. It was the Orange Bowl.
It was the Orange Bowl. Okay, the Orange Bowl.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That was my second answer.
Was it really?
Yeah.
And
You
I still think
should always go with your second answer.
I know. I should never.
I still think Joe Namath wore a fur coat.
You did. All right, Harry, your question number 1. Here we go.
All right.
The Giants only lost 2 games in 1986. Dallas beat them once. Who was the other team that beat them in 1986?
86.
Mm-hmm.
This is the year they went to the Super Bowl and won, beat the Broncos, right?
That's correct.
I think they won out in their conference or their division. It was a weird team. It was somebody in the West. I want to say the Rams or the Seahawks. I don't know. Seahawks.
Seahawks is correct. You got that one right. The Seattle Seahawks beat them. And the Seattle Seahawks, ironically...
You could ask me what I did 2 days ago, and I can't answer that. But I do remember that season was pretty magical.
Yeah. Seahawks were actually in the AFC then, too.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was a West team, though.
You were not beaten by the Seahawks 2 days ago. We know that.
But did I not pick the Seahawks? I'm going to be beaten by the Seahawks this week.
Yes.
Last week, yeah.
Now this,
maybe.
You might have been. You might have been beaten by the Seahawks. You might have been beaten by the Seahawks.
That's right. Really depends. Really depends on whether or not the Jets go to the playoffs.
Exactly. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Funny how that's all tied together.
All right, Pete. Here we go. Back to you.
All right, here we go.
Question number 2 for Pete. Here we go. Who was the place kicker for the Jets in Super Bowl 3? Kicked 3 field goals for the Jets.
I'll say Jim Turner.
Jim Turner's correct. You got it. All right. Good job, Pete. All right. Harry, to you.
Hmm?
Who was the Giants' place kicker in 1986?
Oh, God, I should know this. Matt Barr? No, never mind. That was 90.
Matt Barr would be wrong.
Yeah.
So, Pete, for the steal?
Good. I'll say Garo Yepremian.
It was not Gary Premium. Harry, doesn't count, but you want to...
Yeah, don't tell me. I God damn it, I could picture the motherfucker.
Jim Fielding.
No.
Fred Kazmarek. Anthony De La Rosa.
Raul Allegre.
Raul Allegre, there you go. And who did he replace as the place kicker? Who was the place kicker before Raul Allegre? Got to remember
Garo
that one.
Yepremian.
It was not.
He replaced. Who was the kicker?
Before Raul Allegre? For the
Gary
Giants?
Reasons.
It was not. No.
I don't remember.
Ali Haji Sheikh.
Ali Haji
Oh,
Sheikh.
wow.
Ali Haji Sheikh.
But he wasn't on the team that year. He was the year before.
No, it was the year before. It was before, yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So there you go. All right. Nobody got that one. Pete, back to you. Question number 3. Here we go. Who scored the only touchdown for the Jets in Super Bowl III?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'll say. Oh my God. I'll say Matt Snell.
Matt Snell's correct. There you go. You know your Super Bowl III history, except for the stadium it was played in.
Yes.
All right. There we go. All right, Harry, your third question. Here you go. Who scored the Giants' first ever touchdown in a Super Bowl, which was obviously Super Bowl 21?
That was the Giants' first ever touchdown in the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 21?
Super Bowl 21 was the first time they played in a Super Bowl. So basically, who scored the first touchdown in Super Bowl 21? But who scored the Giants' first ever touchdown in a Super Bowl in Super Bowl 21? Say both ways, same answer. So,
What year was this?
1986. Well,
87, technically.
January 87.
What? I can't remember who was the first. Fuck. Yeah. Was it Bavaro?
It was not Mark Bavaro. RadioPete for the steal.
I'll say.
Garo Yepremian.
That's who I want to say, but I have a feeling it's not him. I'll say. Phil McConkey.
Good guess. Wrong, but good guess. Harry, you want to take another stab at it for the same as before, not for points?
Bavaro did score a touchdown.
Bavaro scored a touchdown. McConkey scored a touchdown.
McConkey scored a touchdown. It was
Who scored the first touchdown in Super Bowl 21?
It was the other tight end for the Giants.
By the name of?
Zeke Moat.
Zeke Moat.
Zeke Moat.
There you go.
There you go.
And Otis Anderson scored a touchdown too, didn't he, in that game?
No. Yes, Otis Anderson scored a touchdown.
Those were the touchdowns.
And and Joe Morris scored one too.
A little train Joe Morris.
Mm-hmm.
Morris did score one in that?
I believe he did. He might not. He might have been the only one that didn't. I think he did.
I don't think he did.
No, because they had 39, 1, 2, 3, 4. They only had 4 touchdowns. You're right.
Yeah.
For Bavaro, because there was.
So it was Mowat, Bavaro, McConkey, and Otis Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about Zeke Moat. I thought it was Bavaro. For some reason, I thought Bavaro was the first one.
Yeah, Zeke Moat was the first. All right.
Zeke Moat.
He
was 87 in Super Bowl 21.
He was.
Damn it.
Born in 1899.
It's very.
Zeke Moat. One of the best names ever. Zeke Moat.
Zeke Moat. All right. Pete, this is, we're all tied up right now. Here we go. Pete, your fourth question. Here we go. Which Hall of Fame wide receiver wore number 13 for the Jets?
Can I ask a stupid question? Do the Jets have more than one Hall of Fame wide receiver? Okay.
Good
Maybe.
question.
Maybe they do.
Either way, it was only one of them that wore number 13.
True. I don't know. I only know one. I don't know his number.
I know his number, but I don't know his name.
Hence the conundrum.
Well, you two can confer.
Yeah, I can't for the life of me think of it.
Right on the tip of your
Not
tongue.
surprising. Yeah, I'll say Wesley Walker.
Okay, that would be incorrect. Harry, for
Yeah.
the steal.
Don Maynard?
That would be correct.
That's
Don
it.
Maynard. So
Did he play? He was on that team, right? Yeah.
he was on he won the Super Bowl with them, yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's why I knew that was the case, but I couldn't remember his name. But I didn't want to say, "Oh, he was on the Super Bowl team," just in case Harry had
The wrong name.
perhaps had it wrong. He doesn't need any.
I'm guessing
clues from me.
I'm guessing he's the only Jets wide receiver in the Hall of Fame. I don't think the Giants have one in the Hall of Fame.
I actually have it right here. The Jets Hall of Fame.
Definitely is not Jim Burt. Now, Don Maynard was white.
Yeah, he was not a nose tackle though.
No, they didn't have nose tackles back then, did they?
What they called them?
I feel like a nose tackle is like shoulder pads on women's, sportswear or business suits. I feel like it was an '80s thing.
Jets. Where the hell is it? I'll have to find it later.
We'll touch base next week.
We'll touch base next week on it. All right. Anyway, actually, we'll do that. We'll do that. That's a good idea. All right, Harry.
Yes.
Question number 4 for you. Here we go.
God. Yeah.
What Giants backup quarterback rushed for a first down on a fake punt in Super Bowl 21?
Super Bowl 21 was 87.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's it? I don't think Hostetler wasn't on the team then, was he? I have no idea. I can't think of anybody else backup quarterback. I'll say Jeff Hostetler.
Jeff Hostetler. Jeff Hostetler was drafted in 1984. So he was on the team, but that would be incorrect. RadioPete for the steal.
Before we do that, Jets have one other receiver in the Hall of Fame, but it's bogus. It's Art Monk.
Mm.
So he was there in 1994.
But he's a Redskin.
Yeah, he's not a Jet. They got a bunch of players that are in the Hall of Fame that were there briefly.
Right.
Who was the Giants' other backup? Jesus.
All right, so what was the question?
So, RadioPete, which Giants backup quarterback rushed for a first down on a fake punt in Super Bowl 21?
What year was that?
1987.
Giants backup quarterback that rushed for a touchdown on a fake punt in the Super Bowl.
Harry guessed Jeff Hostetler, and that is wrong.
So who was the Giants' third string quarterback?
Or second string.
I'll say Dave Brown.
Dave Brown. Dave Brown would be incorrect as well. Go ahead, Harry. You figured
Now
it out.
Harry knows who it is.
Jeff Rutledge.
Jeff Rutledge was correct.
Fuck.
Rutledge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Got half the name right.
You got half the name right, exactly. All right, back to Pete. Pete, your fifth question. Here we go. Which running back did the Jets take with the second overall pick in the 1990 NFL draft? Now, it's just not a random thing. It's the second overall pick. So which running back did the Jets take with the second overall pick in the 1990 NFL draft?
I'll say
1990.
Yep.
I'll say 1990. That's like 40 years ago.
Doesn't it seem
No,
like
30 years ago.
Shouldn't be?
32 years ago, and it shouldn't be. No, it shouldn't. But you should know this.
I should?
Mhm.
Well, I should know a lot of these, but that doesn't. Is it my guy?
Which running back did the Jets take with the second overall pick in the 1990 NFL draft?
I'll take Blair Thomas for the
There you go.
tie.
Blair Thomas is correct, sir.
Penn State, right?
Penn State. Very good.
You know how that worked out for them.
Yeah, well, on that note, the Jets took Blair Thomas with the second overall pick. The third overall pick was Cortez Kennedy, who's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's
The
pretty good.
Fifth overall pick was Junior Seau.
Yeah.
The 17th overall pick was a running back by the name of Emmitt Smith.
Who was the first overall pick that year?
Jeff George.
So you see, the Jets could have done worse.
They could have picked one other guy higher. You know what? Jeff George had a better career than Blair Thomas did.
He did. He did. Jeff Thomas did. Jeff
so
George
that
did
would
have
have
a
been
better
better. That would have been a better pick.
career.
All right.
All right.
Good one.
All right. Harry, your turn. Your question number 5. Here we go. Where are we? Here we go. Which quarterback in Giants history holds the record for most career rushing yards over his whole career?
Is it kind of a trick question?
Yes.
Just with the Giants?
Just with the Giants. Just Giants quarterback in history over his entire career has the most rushing yards as a Giants quarterback.
I mean, I know it's not, I think it's probably Daniel Jones.
That would be correct. It's Daniel Jones, yes.
I agree, it's Daniel Jones.
It's for the steal. There you go. All right.
Because Phil Simms had like 12 career rushing yards.
I can tell you right now, actually, I have it right here.
And
Right
Tarkenton probably had more overall, but not with the Giants.
Fran Tarkenton had 1,100 rushing yards with the Giants.
Right. So that's close.
1,126.
He actually had 1,400, but 300 of them were going backwards.
2,800 total rushing yards ran. But positive rushing yards, 11.
Yeah.
Oh, Fran Tarkenton on some plays had 100 yards on one play, but only it was 10 yards. Yeah.
That guy
anyway.
could not make up his mind.
Fran Tarkenton had 1,126 rushing yards with the Giants. Daniel Jones right now has
1,600, something like that.
1,617 rushing yards. Phil Simms actually has more than Fran Tarkenton. Phil Simms has 1,252 rushing yards.
Yeah, and he played for 12 years, so 100 yards a year.
Well, yeah. Well, get this. Fran Tarkenton, 69 games as a Giants quarterback, 1,126. Daniel Jones, 53 games, 1,617. So better scrambler, better rusher than even Fran Tarkenton. And Phil Simms had those 1,252 over 164 games. Mm-hmm. And just so you know, Eli Manning had 236 games played, and he only had 567 rushing yards. There you go. All right.
A lot of that was just falling forward for 2
Pretty
yards,
much, yeah.
because he's 6 feet tall.
So, all right, here we go. Pete, your sixth and final question. Here we go. What Hall of Famer did the Jets pass on to take tight end Kyle Brady in the 1995 NFL Draft?
'95?
95 or 85?
1995 NFL Draft.
95.
What Hall of Famer did the Jets pass on to take tight end Kyle Brady in the 1995 NFL Draft?
'95.
He went 3 picks later, by the way. Jets picked at number 9, picked Kyle Brady. 3 picks later, this gentleman was picked.
What Hall of Famer did they pass on to take Kyle Brady?
What? Okay. 95.
See, this is just too difficult because
There's too many. I'm trying to think of guys.
Well, it's question 6, so yeah.
like this assumes that I know A, something about the Jets draft. B, who
Something
was
about the
drafted
Hall of
in
Fame.
something about the Hall of Fame, and C, who was drafted in 1995. I'll say no idea. Jesse Tuggle.
Jesse Tuggle's in the Hall of Fame?
I don't know. 1995?
Mm-hmm. Well, that would be incorrect. Harry for the steal.
Hall of Fame. Okay. So I have my first thought. I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame. And it's not Reggie White. He was definitely earlier than that, right?
Yeah.
It's not Jesse
Well,
Tuggle.
It's not Jesse Tuggle.
It's not Ty Law, I don't think. He's not in the Hall of Fame, is he, Ty Law?
He did play for the Jets.
Yeah. Was he drafted by the Jets or was he drafted by the Patriots?
I think he played for the Jets later. But he might have been drafted by the Patriots because the Jets did not.
I want to say it's a defensive player. So I don't think it was Reggie White. So I want to say Ty Law, but I don't think that's right. And I couldn't. Who was the defensive end for the Bucks? I'm going to say Warren Sapp, but I think he was drafted earlier. I don't know. Warren Sapp. I think he was drafted in like 92, but maybe he was later.
So what are you picking?
Ty Law or Warren Sapp? I don't know if Ty Law's in the Hall of Fame.
I think it's Sapp. I think you should pick Sapp. I think that's right.
Sapp. Let's go with Sapp. I don't know.
Sure you don't want to go with Ty Law?
Is Ty Law the right answer? Fuck.
It's Warren Sapp.
It is Warren Sapp.
It is Warren Sapp.
I thought he was.
As soon as he said his name, I knew it was right.
I thought Warren Sapp was a lot earlier than that.
Oh.
Was Ty Law that year? Maybe as well.
I
want to say Ty Law was around that time.
Ty Law was drafted
maybe
1, 2, 3, 4,
97.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 places after Warren Sapp, and he is indeed in the Hall of Fame, sir.
All right.
So technically, because I was reading this, technically, if you said Ty Law,
It would have been correct.
it would have been correct because the Jets passed on Ty Law to take him too. So either of those,
Yeah, and I couldn't remember if
would have been correct.
Because the Jets, a lot of times in the mid '90s, had multiple first-round draft picks. So I couldn't remember if Ty Law was maybe picked by the Jets.
Well, the Jets technically the Jets passed on after Warren Sapp was picked. The Jets again passed on Ty Law and picked defensive end Hugh Douglas.
Douglas had a pretty good career.
He had a decent career. Not quite as good as Ty Law's, but he had a decent career. Yeah, but look at it this way. Either way, the Jets did better with the Giants pick in the first round that year.
Who did the Giants pick in '95?
Tyrone Wheatley.
Kerry Collins went that year too, didn't he?
Kerry Collins went that year to the Panthers.
Panthers. Who did the Giants pick? Tyrone
Wheatley.
Wasn't he part of CNC Music Club?
yeah, probably. No.
Yeah, Tyrone Wheatley. That's way worse than Blair Thomas.
Yeah, Blair Thomas was a better
Who
pick.
did Tyrone Wheatley play for in college? Georgia?
Tyrone Wheatley played for Michigan.
Michigan.
So, anyway. Well, there you go. Rashad Salam was picked in that draft.
See you, Buffs.
Had
a rough life for Rashad Salam.
Yeah. So
he was kind of a bust in the NFL. Heisman Trophy winner, right, Rashad Salam?
Yeah.
Didn't he get hurt like every year for his first?
Yeah, and then I think didn't he die, Rashad Salam, by suicide or something like that? Or I don't know.
I'm not sure. Whatchamacallit? Yeah. Steve McNair was picked in that draft too. Tony Baselli was picked number 2 overall in that draft. He's in the Hall of Fame. Kerry Collins again, Kevin Carter. So that was a good draft, 95, except for the Giants and the Jets. So anyway. So yeah, honestly, either of those would have been correct. So Warren Sapp was the first one. It was only a couple picks after Kyle Brady, so that was the one we were looking for. But if you said Ty Law, that wasn't wrong, so you would have been correct with that. Either or would have been right.
Yeah, so Rashad Salam died in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
It was confirmed that it was suicide. Yeah.
Sucks.
Sad.
Yeah.
He died in a park in Boulder. So yeah, sad. I mean, he's such a great player and such a class act when he was in college here. He was kind of a legend here, and he's on those teams with what's his name, who went to play for the Steelers, and it's kind of the last great years of the University of Colorado football team.
And Troy Polamalu?
No, not Troy Polamalu.
Slash.
What's his name?
No,
the quarterback. Cordell Stewart.
Cordell Stewart, yeah. That's right. All right, Harry, your 6th and final question.
Oh, God, I thought we were done.
Which Giant holds the record for most career rushing touchdowns?
Tiki Barber?
Tiki Barbie, wrong. Pete for the steal.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to give Pete. It might not be a running back.
Oh, that helps. Oh, you're talking about Jesse Tuggle.
Imagine if it was. I got to come up with a Jesse Tuggle question really quick.
The most rushing touchdowns. Well, if it's not a running back, I don't know who to.
Maybe it is a running back. I'm just trying to think of
Who are the Thunder and Lightning, but not Ron Dane? Who is the other guy?
Oh, yeah.
Brandon Jacobs?
Yeah, there
Brandon
you go.
Jacobs is correct.
Yeah.
He had more touchdowns than Tiki Barber?
Yep. Tiki Barber had more touchdowns than him. He had more rushing touchdowns than Tiki Barber. Tiki Barber caught a lot of passes too for touchdowns. There you go.
Brandon Jacobs. That's
Brandon
right.
Jacobs. Yeah.
1 yard in a cloud of dust.
That's it. It's just
Tommy Vardell.
hammered him in 1 yard. Done.
Because I think rushing. So Tiki Barber was second, or was Rodney Hampton second?
Tiki Barber's second.
Joe Morris is right there too, right?
Brandon Jacobs had 60 touchdowns, 60 rushing touchdowns. Tiki Barber had 55. Rodney Hampton had 49. Joe Morris had 48. And to round up your top five, Alex Webster had 39.
Alex Webster.
Yeah, but yeah, Brandon Jacobs had the most.
Brandon Jacobs. Wow, that was a tough one.
There you go.
Pete got it though.
You got it. Good job. Yeah, it's all about they're on the 1 yard line.
I forgot about Jacobs.
Give it to the gigantic.
I just
guy.
thought it was Tiki because yeah.
There you go. So it got even closer this week. Harry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pete, 1, 2, 3, 4. You only lost by 1. You're up to 4. So you're due.
January 2024. I'm going to smoke your ass.
There you go. All right. Well, there you go.
All right. There's been wars that have had more rapid fire than that quiz today, but
I think you're right.
So
it's fun though. It's fun. It's all good. All right.
Brandon Jacobs.
Brandon Jacobs. There you go.
That's going to keep you up tonight.
I should have known that.
All right. That brings us to this week's. Got to scroll back up for it. This week's top 10 list. Top 10. We've been doing.
Thank God it's not sports.
There you go. We've been doing. Decades of TV sitcoms. So we're up to
top 10 obscure New York Giants tight ends who caught the first touchdown.
Top 10 appearances
that appeared in TV sitcoms in the 2000s.
In 2000 TV sitcom appearances by New York Giants.
There you go. So top 10 sitcoms from the 2000s. Top 10 TV sitcoms from the 2000s. There we go. All right. So, of course, we have 15, but we actually have 1 through 10 because there's ties. So we didn't actually go over.
Our top 10 list is like the NHL playoffs. Everybody gets in.
Everybody gets in. There you go. All right. So we're going to kick it off with number 10 is Malcolm in the Middle. Malcolm in the Middle. Jump in. I'm going to read these off. Jump in if you want to talk about the show at all as I read.
Great show. Bryan Cranston, Jason Kaczmarek. Shot weird. It was. I think it's very underrated. Very underrated. I mean, it was a family show, but it was damn funny.
There you go. Number 10, Malcolm in the Middle. Tie for number 9. We got a 3-way tie for number 9.
3-way tie for last.
3-way tie for number 9. Here we go. First one is Broad City.
Watch it. It's fantastic. It's no longer on, but you can find it, and maybe the best sitcom series in the last 6 years. I would say without a doubt.
There you go. All right. Number 9, tied for number 9, Broad City. Also tied for number 9, Still Standing. Pete.
Who's in this? John Lithgow?
No.
No, it's Mark Addy and his sort of his.
Is this a British sitcom?
No.
Okay.
Mark Addy and Jamie Gertz.
Jamie Gertz was in it, yeah.
His wife. It was basically probably his stand-up act, basically. Yeah.
As a TV show, yeah.
Yeah, dysfunctional parents raising 3 kids. He's a slob. She's very organized and rigid. And,
so hot wife, ugly guy. It doesn't sound like any other sitcom.
It's absolutely formulaic, but he's great and very relatable. And
nice.
Jamie Gertz. Who didn't have a crush on Jamie Gertz from the Lost Boys?
Right.
And
I
this
mean,
we're
she's
talking
older and a mom in this, but still looking pretty good.
Yep.
Jamie Gertz, number
Jamie
9,
Gertz.
but the number 1 MILF sitcom MILF of the 2000s.
There you go.
Number 9 sitcom.
Number 9 sitcom MILF of the
That's
2000s.
right. That's
There you go.
right.
And also tied for number 9 is My Name is Earl.
My Name is Earl.
What's her face was in this too? What's her name?
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston. No. What was her name?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
She was in.
Give me a hint. I watched this twice.
She was in Joe Dirt. What the hell's her name?
Oh, she's in the new one with the woman from the West Wing.
I'll think of it.
Yeah,
you say it before I find it. Jamie Presley.
Yeah, she's in. There's another sitcom she's in now with. God, what's her name from the West Wing? Real tall, Allison Janney.
Yeah.
Moms, or I don't know what it's called.
with Anna Faris.
With Anna
Oh,
Faris.
that's Anna Faris. I'm sorry.
No, Jamie Presley's in it too.
Okay, that's I thought so.
He's right. Yeah, Jamie Presley's in it. Anna Faris and Allison Janney. All right. So those are tied for 9. Broad City still
I do
standing.
remember Jamie Presley kind of stealing the show, and My Name is Earl.
My Name is Earl. Yeah.
Yeah, she was a reason to watch, even if you didn't think the show was funny.
Yeah, Jason Lee. Something happened to him.
So.
Well, he did a few movies and still around, but
it was hot. It was hot for the time.
For the time.
Yeah.
All right. We got a tie at number 8. First one is Archer.
Oh God.
Harry.
Look, if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a little up and down, but from season to season, it's animated, but it's H. John Benjamin, and
it's a good
the writer, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. It is quite possibly, it's funny. It's funny, and it definitely is out there. Mm-hmm. So just give it a watch. I'm not even going to do it justice by trying to explain. Right. It's really, really, really funny.
There you go. I think I have to watch a bunch of this because I watched Bob's Burgers first.
This is way better.
I know, but I can't get Bob out of my head.
I hear you.
And it's also animated. So I need to binge watch a bunch of Archer and kind of, I think, to get into the character. Yeah. But everyone that I know whose opinion I respect has said this is a great show. It's just,
and I think it might be.
It's on my list. I haven't gotten to it yet.
I think it might be the only one on the list that has an actress who's in probably 2 that's on this list. So, who just passed away. Her name is Walters.
Jessica Walters.
Jessica Walters. Yeah, she plays the mom on Archer. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's the voice, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. Also tied for 8 is Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, what an institution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, listen, it got all shitty at the end, of course, as so many sitcoms do that run too long.
Is it over now?
I think so, yeah.
It's over. No, it's over. Yeah, a couple years ago.
Yeah, they all got married and it got sentimental. And
Penny.
I'll just say this. It was hilarious in the beginning, and Kaylee Cuoco.
Mm-hmm.
And I know she's weird and had whatever goes on in her personal life and all that, but she's reason enough to watch the show.
And it continues now with the prequel,
Young Leonard
of young Sheldon.
Oh yeah, which will
whoever plays Leonard is a fantastic actor, and I mean he's also, I think, was like 15 years older than the rest of them. The guy looks 20 years younger than he is. I can't remember his name right now. Mm-hmm. Jim Parsons.
Sheldon. Yeah, Jim Parsons.
Sheldon,
yeah.
Jim Parsons. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's won multiple Emmys.
He's the star of the show. Come on.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes. All right, so both tied for 8 is Archer and Big Bang Theory. All right, we'll move on to number 7. Number 7 is certainly, and I'll announce that was my favorite of these, and it made number 7, and that would be Family Guy. Family Guy. Just like Seth MacFarlane's a genius. I think it's hysterical. Almost everything that I don't think I've ever watched one Family Guy where I wasn't laughing my ass off. And it's relatable to like a lot of things, even like our ages and stuff, because he's of that genre, and anything that he like throws back to is pretty.
And maybe the only one on here with a spinoff.
Yeah. Well, Big Bang Theory had a spinoff too, obviously. Young Sheldon.
Well, that's true. Right? Is that really a spinoff?
Yeah, not really a spinoff.
It's not really. I guess it's not really a spinoff.
I mean, it's a character, but it's a
character. Yeah. But Family Guy has a couple of as a spinoff of the Cleveland Show,
right?
And
which I like.
Right. He's done a bunch of stuff too, like American Dad. Not that's a spinoff of this, but it's his what you call it? I mean, it's some voices that he's done on
right.
Yeah, I think for me and Family Guy, I don't really think it made my list just because it wasn't. I don't know. I had a little Simpsons versus Family Guy thing going, and me being a Simpsons guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly have watched a ton of it on YouTube and in reruns.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I really love about Family Guy is they were never afraid to take as much time as was needed to make something ridiculous and farcical.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was Peter barking his shin and sitting on the curb going like 7 or 8 or 9 times,
yeah,
or showing the whole Conway Twitty video singing whatever song, or showing the David Lee Roth or Mick Jagger and Bowie dancing in this, showing the whole damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that really happened, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Like taking to me, that is very funny stuff when someone's just like,
right,
fuck it, I don't care if we have 24 minutes, we're spending 5 of it on this.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
and
to have the power to do that,
right,
and the
right
stones to do it, and the sense of humor to do it is really cool about Family Guy.
Nobody introduces more obscure Gen X references into their humor than Seth MacFarlane.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good.
The first of I'll say a couple things about it. The very first Family Guy, it aired one episode, and it didn't come back on for a year and a half. And I was like looking all over for it because it was hysterical. I watched it. It was after the Broncos beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl in '99.
Nobody wanted to follow with that.
And once the Super Bowl was over, they followed it with the first episode of Family Guy. And the first episode was where Peter actually lost his job and went on welfare, and the welfare department was writing him checks for like $100,000 a week. They made a mistake. So he put a moat around the house, and he did this and he did that. And then Lois found out, and she made him, Brian found out first, the dog.
Of course.
And then so Brian took a rolled up newspaper and was hitting Peter on the nose saying, no, just hysterical. But then Lois found out, made him give him the money back. So he decided instead of giving the money back to welfare, he was just going to take it all and fly a blimp over the Super Bowl and drop it all onto the Super Bowl. And then they, of course, he's in court afterwards, and the judge is going to arrest him, and the judge sentences him to time in jail, and everybody's like in the court, oh no. And then the Hawaiian Punch jug breaks through the wall and says, oh yeah. It was just, it's just so stupid.
Like I said, Gen
so
X
stupid. Yeah, but it's just so stupid, but it's hysterical.
Yeah.
So that was the first.
Should have been Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Hawaiian Punch is even more obscure.
But anyway, but yeah, and then he and all the episodes he did, but they're just hysterical. But the one thing they did is they did remakes of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And
which they then referenced in other shows.
Oh yeah, and then they like the first one they did, they called Blue Harvest, which I think was the original working title of the original Star Wars. But apparently George Lucas is a big fan of Family Guy, so he actually got involved with them. But and Stewie was Darth Vader, and Lois was Princess Leia. So it's hysterical. If you haven't watched it, watch it. I'll say more. But so number 7, Family Guy. All right, that brings us to number 6, 30 Rock. I think this is on all 3 of our lists, 30 Rock.
Yeah, this show is chaos.
First one so far that's on all 3 of our lists.
Amy Poehler's just magnificent. I mean, not Amy Poehler, Tina Fey.
Tina Fey.
Is magnificent. Yeah. She is.
And Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin. I mean, they were all great on this, but
Yeah.
It's kind of a comeback for Alec Baldwin in some degree.
Yep. And
Tracy Morgan and
what's her name? The
Jane
blonde.
Jane Kaczmarek.
Jane Kaczmarek. No, Jane.
No.
Kaczynski.
Krasinski. Kaczmarek. Krasinski. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a K.
Great cast, and everything was. One of my favorite lines, and I use it all the time, is the great cameo by Will Arnett.
Yes.
Another show that's on this list.
Well, then I guess
played Jack's brother.
Right.
So Jack is Alec Baldwin's character is freaking out because his brother is coming, and they both have those voices. So and Tina Fey is there, and Baldwin's like, "Oh, Jack's coming," and blah 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 blah, and she goes, "You can have a talking like this contest." And I've used that all the time. Whenever there's some sort of a family dispute, or they go, "How do we decide how to?" I always chime in with, "You can have a talking like this contest." And no one gets it because no one saw it but me. But I think it's hilarious.
It's hysterical. Or the one that I always think of is when they're filming, they have the HD camera, the high def camera, and anybody that stepped in front of it is like 90 years older. you see every wrinkle.
That's a great show.
What you call, and then what's his face? The one kid, the intern, whatever.
Page?
Jack McBray or the Page. Yeah.
The Page. Yeah.
Kenneth.
He walked in front of the camera and he's a Muppet.
Yeah, they dipped occasionally into some very surreal type moments.
Anyway, all right. So there you go. Number 6, 30 Rock. All right, we got a 2-way tie for 5th, and that is number 5. First one is South Park.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
it still continues to excel in ways that it's just fantastic. It's just fantastic that they take the piss out of every damn thing in society like no one else has ever done. It's fantastic.
These were that wasn't on all 3 of ours.
No, I don't think I had this either, right?
You didn't have it, no.
Yeah,
you shied away from the animated ones.
Some of the animated, Many years ago, I used to work at Sports Phone back in the day, and they used to watch South Park on the overnights. They bring in videotapes, folks, and they would watch South Park and stuff like that. And that was kind of my exposure to it. It just wasn't. I think for some of these, I didn't have television for a long time.
Right.
It got really expensive, and we just didn't have television. So there was some stuff that I wasn't, watching on a regular basis, like you would watch it, every week or whatever.
Sure.
And so some stuff I kind of went back and binged later on when, we started streaming, or maybe, I got some, there's another show on this list. I got the DVD collection.
Sure.
DVDs, folks.
Really? Even
so I've seen them, but South Park, I've seen some, but again, it wasn't.
Give it a shot.
Yeah, I know. It's always funny when I watch it.
I'll say this. I think that they've got better I think they're at their best now. I think that during the right after the election in what was that 2020, and then into the pandemic, they were absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's really good writing, and it's just and they also are just out there and not afraid to just take on anything, anyone, and anything.
There you go. All right. Tied for number 5, South Park. Also tied for number 5, Flight of the Conchords. Flight of the Conchords. I like the show. I think it was.
It's an alt comedy. It's definitely more, of a niche. It's kind of more of like a critic's choice. Right. It wasn't on very long, but it was very good. It was very. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't want to say surreal, but it was. It certainly was a more slower moving, almost like mockumentary style type of show.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't your typical American style humor.
No.
Very dry.
Very British almost.
Yeah, very British, right? From Australia.
Kind of like a new take on the young ones almost. Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough.
And it was kind of subtle and
but really good.
Your face.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah.
So,
and kind of autobiographical. In a sense, right?
And sort of, two guys that were relatively unknown at the time, for them to get a shot. And, when things like this get picked up and introduced to the American public, they don't always take off. So it was good that this did.
Yeah. And look, and then, what was it, 2 years, I think, right? It was just 2 years.
Couple of years,
2 or 3, yeah.
And then they decided to end it. They were like,
that's the way to do it.
I think we're done with it. So
that's the way to do it.
But yeah, they didn't drag it out. And
although one more thing about South Park that I will say is that they've been on for 25 years now, and there is something to say for being that good for that long. Much like Family Guy or obviously The Simpsons, and there's very few shows that can be that good for that long.
Right.
Yeah, but I think South Park. Probably definitely more so than the Simpsons have gone through a couple of periods where even I would go, I don't know, guys.
Big changes in writers on the Simpsons.
But South Park's been consistently.
Those guys have their hands in it a lot. Yeah.
There you go. All right. So the tie for 5 is South Park and Flight of the Conchords. Number 4 is Parks and Recreation.
One of my favorites to catch clips. Every character is so great.
Aubrey Plaza to me was the deciding factor in where I placed this, because she is so good in that role that it's a great ensemble cast. Like a lot of sitcoms didn't start out all that strong.
Right.
First season or 2, I was like, then I watched it, and when I was able to binge watch it, and I do think that certain shows are better when you get to see them, when you get to sit there and maybe absorb it while doing other things and watching 8 episodes in a row.
Right.
I think that Parks and Rec, and another one that's probably on this list, to me, I watched them after they were already on and over on network television, so I was able to binge watch them, and that's where I became fans of them, and I equate them to each other, very, very strongly. But
Parks and Rec, there was often a longer period of time would pass in between episodes, so it could be a little bit disjointed.
Right. And much we'll talk about another sitcom who, as far as guest stars, Rob Lowe's character on Parks and Rec is right in my top 5 of all time of sort of guest stars on sitcoms. It's literally one of my favorite characters.
My body is a microchip.
Yeah, it's just so over the top. It's so, and he just knocks it out of the park.
He does. It's very good.
And I saw a clip the other day. It was, Billy Eichner is right.
Yes, Billy on the Street. Hilarious.
Great, love it. Kind of a one-trick thing. but he's still great.
He's great on this. He's great on the show.
He's great on Parks and Rec. He's like, I was watching it. It was like he was the one character that didn't necessarily intimidate Donna, right? Donna was nobody fucked with Donna.
Stoic, yeah.
He didn't really intimidate her, but he could stop her in her tracks. He could
stop everyone.
He could get her to do things that no one else would,
Right.
Like, give me that, give me the phone.
Yep.
And she would go, here, it was just, but yeah, a lot of great guests.
And he's gone on to, he has a movie that was just out recently.
Oh yeah, he's done a lot of great stuff. Yeah. But I loved his character.
Yep.
I loved everything about that show.
That was a great show.
And Billy on the Street is just, it's really good. He's a really talented guy. Yeah, and that character was good. I feel like Parks and Rec, even as much as 30 Rock, kind of brought the ridiculousness back to a lot of, to the sitcom.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it was a rip on government, right?
Oh, without a doubt. And so many catchphrases, treat yourself and, yeah, it's just. Yeah.
So number 4, Parks and Rec. All right, we got a 2-way tie for third. And the first, number 3, is The Office.
Now, this is the U.S. office, not the British office?
No, the
British
U.S.
office.
The U.S. office, yes.
And I was thinking about putting both of them on my list.
The Scranton office. The office of Scranton.
I was thinking about putting both of them on my list, but I was remembering when I was watching the original with Ricky Gervais, it was painful to watch, which the part of The Office was too, but it was so much. I felt bad for the characters in the British office. Not all the time, but more so than I did in the U.S. version. The U.S. version, it was funny. Their insensitivity and stupidity and stuff was funny. In The Office, it was painful to watch.
Yeah, Ricky Gervais is fine with uncomfortable, static sitting in the moment, which I love. But yeah, it's hard. I have never sort of absorbed as much of the British office as I have the American office, just because I feel like it's always on.
It's always on.
So I feel like it's grown more and more on me. But The Office is the other show I was talking about with Parks and Recs. I sort of watched them more continually around the same time, a number of years after they were done. Mm-hmm. And I they're very equal as far as how I enjoy them. I think Parks and Rec, there was a little bit more consistency with the characters in there. I'm going to be unpopular in this opinion, but I thought the weakest part of The Office was what's his name is Michael Scott. I just could not. Steve Carell. I like Steve Carell. I do not like him in The Office. When they got to the other bosses, especially James Spader as Robert California, then I was like, okay, we're on to something here. This is way better.
Yeah, and it was a little bit, I mean...
If Steve Carell could have had his character in Anchorman as Michael Scott.
Right.
That would have been good.
And it wasn't Steve Carell's fault necessarily. Yeah. It's just the way... And some of the characters were insufferable. Like, Pam and Jim were the worst part of the show. But Creed,
no. But
now,
I mean,
Creed was fucking. That's some good shit. And let's face it, what's his name as Dwight Schrute? One of the top roles ever in the history.
Yeah.
I mean, he did that role really well.
Yeah, and then that was, I think, the rest of the cast was allowed to, fortunately, carry a lot more of the show in the American version. Right, than they were in the British version.
There was maybe more that of was them part too. Of the,
Right. It was more of them too. But I don't know. I could feel sympathy or whatever for Steve Carell's Michael Scott that I just didn't feel. Maybe that's the difference for Ricky Gervais. I wanted him to be punished and fail. He was dick.
And maybe I had such revere for Ricky Gervais's role, and I had seen that before. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it just didn't, because I'm a big Ricky Gervais fan. And yes, that's what I loved about his character in the British Office, was that there was absolutely,
he was
his genius.
Yeah, he was mean, and he wasn't like Michael Scott was. Steve Carell was more bumbling. He was thoughtless and insensitive, but at heart, he was kind of a good person. Ricky Gervais was not a good person at heart.
No,
he was just an asshole, and it was a matter of like, will he go far enough to finally cross the line and get shit canned? And that's what made it painful to watch. So
that's
I don't know.
That's why I think Michael Scott's character fell short for me.
Right.
Yeah, because you could always end up rooting for Michael Scott because he always wanted to do the right thing. Ricky Gervais never wanted
it,
and that's probably why the Robert California character, which not as vicious as Steve Carell's, but that's why I felt that they hit the right note with him.
Yeah,
because he was going to come out on top no matter what, and he intimidated. He was so weird and so intimidating and so
manipulative.
Absolutely,
he didn't have to be mean because he could push everybody's buttons.
And I think the best episode is when they're interviewing for the new boss, and they have James Spader and they have Ray Romano. Ray Romano opens up his briefcase and starts eating a sandwich during the interview. And he did it so well. I mean, his cameo in that episode, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So that's our first tie for number 3, The Office. Our second tie for number 3 is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I mean, you got to look at this pre and post Danny DeVito.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like 2 different shows.
Yeah. I would say that this is maybe the most off-the-wall comedy to make it onto what I call mainstream television.
Yeah, it came to network, whatever.
But again, sort of like no one's really likable, but there's enough incompetence in all of them that you start to root for them in a weird way.
Right. Yeah, none of them are really good people.
No, they're horrible. You know, it's the Seinfeld formula on steroids.
But they don't benefit. Very much.
No, they're always
from being Machiavellian. They're always failing. They're bad at it.
Never getting at it. They're never getting at it.
Bad at it. So you do kind of feel for them. Yeah.
And there's not a matinee star or anything on the show. And I'd like to think that almost all of them, with obviously the exception of Danny DeVito, were kind of lesser known going into this, you know? And what I also like about it is that the actors were also the creators. You know, this was their show.
Yeah.
And there's a weird genius to this show that is hard to describe. And there's an uncomfortable to this show, and also at times a unease. And being the weirdo that I am, I enjoy all of those.
There you go. So also tied for 3, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. All right. Go up to the top 2 right now. Number 2 is Arrested Development. Pete, this was your number 1. So
yeah, this was the show I mentioned before. I got the DVD set, and so I was able to enjoy it that way. Just the writing, the ridiculousness, the characters, it's chaos. But there's the element of good in Michael Bluth, and all of the characters are spot on. Jessica Walter is wonderful. Tambor is wonderful. Even Michael Cera, is the geeky, spot on, lovable, sympathetic,
David Cross.
Oh my God.
Portia de Rossi.
Will Arnett.
And then who's the girl who played the younger girl on the show? She's fantastic.
Yeah. And Tony, what's his name, who played
Oh yeah, Tony Hale.
Hale. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, all of them brilliant, all of them completely weird, except for Michael Bluth, who's holding everything together, the one sane person.
I mean,
Everyone around
let's not forget about Henry Winkler.
Yeah, Henry Winkler,
who is eventually replaced by Scott Baio.
Which is pretty funny.
Liza Minnelli, Carl Weathers.
Insane.
Great writing,
Right. Judy Greer is who's
that's right.
Is Kitty. George Booth is oh my god. Ed Begley, wasn't Ed Begley Jr. on that too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
great.
Right.
Crazy.
He was like the super Echo guy or whatever. Was that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. They don't make them like that anymore.
No.
I mean, so much so that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the model home,
I think it was two in the attic of the model home.
Right.
Pop. Yeah. He said, well, that's where Jeffrey Tambor's character was hiding. You know,
that's right, he was hiding.
Pop needs a treat.
Right.
I mean,
I think it ran for 2 years, and then they brought it back. Like,
was it only 2 years?
I think it was only 2 seasons. Yeah,
I think it was 3 seasons. It was 3 seasons from 2003 to 2005. So 22 episodes, 18 and 13, and then it came back.
Came back in 2013.
2013.
And then 2018.
Yeah. And it was okay in 2013, but the stuff after that, it fell a little short for me. Yeah. But, Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Great show.
It was. It's really great. It could have very easily also been my number one.
Yeah, everything hit.
Yep.
There really was nothing that fell flat about it.
No. It's fantastic. Yeah.
All right. And speaking of fantastic, our number one show for the 2000s is Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Of course.
And just to point out, we pointed it out before we were talking about it before we started the show. 2 weeks ago on our top 10 shows of the 90s, our number one show was Seinfeld. Just kind of goes hand in hand that this would be our number one for the 2000s. Yeah.
Now, I will say, for me, I think this was number 4. Did I put this number 4?
You have this at number 4, yeah.
Yeah. And
my number 2 is Harry's number 1.
Yeah. And the only reason I put it 4 is it is always funny, and Larry David is great. But sometimes I feel like it gets a little one trick, which is kind of the point of the whole show. The whole show is the quirks of Larry David, but they're always well done. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, we kind of did this,
right?
So that's why it was a little bit higher on my list. But I mean, number 4 is still pretty good.
Number 4 is pretty good
for me.
Yeah. And I feel like part of why I had it as number 1 is that it had a longer lifespan, still going than a lot of these other shows. And I feel like while I agree with you, maybe there was a couple little lulls. I feel like he comes back and you're like, oh, why? And then you're like, okay, it's better than ever. This season he is opening up a revenge coffee shop. Okay, I mean it's just like, all right, he's coming back because he hasn't lost it. And I honestly think that Larry David would not. In fact, there was I think a documentary or something that he was doing that he at the last minute delayed and said, fuck this, it's not coming out, because he wasn't happy with it. And so what I trust more than anything about Curb Your Enthusiasm is that barometer that Larry David has. I feel like he knows comedy and sitcom comedy, other than maybe Rob Reiner and Rob Reiner's dad. I'm not sure anybody else has a better barometer. In other words, they just don't necessarily put out bad things. And this show has been great. And it's kind of a genre creator in some ways, especially with The fact that it's people playing themselves, but not necessarily themselves.
Right, the way they actually
And
are.
you don't know that because they don't hide any of it. So, and the fact that he gets all of these people to play, in some cases, the worst versions of themselves. For him to get John Hamm to come on and play an idiot, or to get, Ted Danson to be on so often as his arch nemesis. I mean, he has the trust of these people. And according to everyone's,
Right.
It's like a sketch. There's the basic idea. And then Larry David's just like, it's just like we're having a conversation, except there's a camera roll.
Right.
And the people are so good at what they do that the show is just insanely good. Susie Essman is so good on this that it's just fantastic. It's just that fantastic.
And I think what you're just talking about is people being a different or the worst version of I think they want to do that.
Absolutely.
It's one thing actors say all the time. Right? And not just people who completely get typecast, but like, I want to be something other than, I don't want to have to be the image. I don't want to have to, but yet they trust him enough to put it in his hands, so to speak. And that, I think, says a lot about him and what he brings to the table.
And
they're like, yes, I've always wanted to do this, and now I'm going to do it because it's Larry David that I'm going to do it with.
And it's in the context of things that we all experience in everyday life, and we all have thought, but have never had the guts to articulate it. And that's the genius of Larry David. Yeah. And, I don't think it's him and him alone. But, I mean, you gotta, the fact that Larry David has become a star as Larry David, that's genius right there. This is a guy who once doing stand-up walked out onto the stage, took a look at the audience and said, nah, not tonight, and left.
That's great. Gotta love it. All right. Our number one show for this week's list, top 10 TV sitcoms from the 2000s, is Curb Your Enthusiasm. All right. That brings us to this week's Old Balls. Apparently there's 3 tonight.
Wow. Our technical graphics and audio is getting so much
top notch. All right. So let's try it again for real. This week's Old Balls.
I think that's enough of a lead-in. I think we'll cut our losses and move on from there.
That was better than anything I could have.
Yeah.
Well, first we had 3 and then we had a half.
Yeah. So we'll save.
No. We didn't have a half. We just had balls. They weren't old. That's all.
Yeah. We'll work on this for next time, and we'll make sure we get it down to 2.
All right, Harry. Tell us who this week's Old Balls is.
This week's recipient of balls is the show Louie, which, look, I know there's a lot of, I think disappointment and anger and disappointment with Louis C.K., but his personal misadventures aside, this show was fantastic. And, Lucky Louie I thought was great. And this show, again, much like Curb Your Enthusiasm, is kind of walks the line between biography, real life, and not. And again, he kind of is able to bring people in sort of playing themselves. He sometimes brings people in who play 4 or 5 different characters with no explanation. There's huge jumps in storylines. It's black comedy, it's satire, it's surrealism, it's cringe. It's all of these things wrapped up into a relatively slow-moving comedy that centers around Louis C.K. going to the Comedy Cellar in the West Village and working out, comedy routines and the life of his life that is surrounded by it. I think there's 5 seasons. I think you can only see it now on his website. But it's worth a watch. And I've always thought that Louis C.K. had a certain mind or for comedy and a perspective on comedy that was very unique and very different than everybody else's. And I think he's done some incredible work over his time in television and obviously in stand-up. But yeah, Louis, it's a great show. And he was also the producer on Pamela Adlon's Better Things, which I wouldn't necessarily say is a comedy. But it as far as TV shows in the last 10 years, it's also right up there. So I think this is I think this would have fallen somewhere into my top 10, probably top 5, actually, if I didn't think it would, if I didn't have it designated for this. But, and I think it was a little underrated at the time. I don't think it got seen by as many people.
No, I don't. It definitely didn't.
Yeah.
But it's very, very interesting. And I think really, really well done. I think it's probably the most creative and unique and kind of new take on the comedy format in quite some time.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Louis, this week's Old Balls. That was just one.
Definitely underrated. Painful to watch at times.
Well, again, yeah. I mean, that's the mind of the stand-up. That's
right. I mean, there was a reason he was as big as he was before he whacked off in front of some people.
Right.
He was not afraid to go anywhere.
No.
And
most of it was him revealing his worst side, no pun intended.
Right.
On camera. I mean, he is very self-critical. I don't even want to say self-deprecating, because I think the show was really about his struggles and really his faults, and his inability to really win any of the relationships in his life, whether it was his kids or his girlfriend or his ex-wife or his doctor. Or by the way, his doctor is played by Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
Dr. Ben, who's
one of the best cameos ever.
Yeah, one of the best cameos. There's a lot of good cameos on here. Yeah, I think even Jerry Seinfeld and Robin Williams are on here as kind of versions of themselves. But yeah, really, really good.
All right. That brings us to our non-sports Just a Quickie.
Ooh, non-sports.
Non-sports Just a Quickie. This past weekend was New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Right. So this non-sports Just a Quickie is, Harry, we'll start with you. What is your favorite, your all-time favorite New Year's Eve drink?
New Year's Eve drink.
Mm-hmm.
Anything alcoholic?
Anything alcoholic.
I would say.
What did you gravitate towards?
Back in the day, probably vodka and soda.
Okay.
Beer, I don't know. Definitely not champagne.
No, I got you. Well, that's why I ask. Isn't it? Some people will say, "Oh, champagne. You're going to drink champagne all night." So vodka and soda.
I don't know. I mean, if you were to ask me today what I would have, it's really the only cocktail that I drink regularly, and that's a Negroni. But
So I mean, if it's now,
now
go now then. What's some Negroni?
Yeah.
Negroni.
What's in a Negroni?
Gin and Campari bitters.
All right. Pete, same.
Got to be the old fashioned.
You stole mine.
No, I'm kidding. It's not the old fashioned.
Isn't it? Really?
No. Too much work.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
If you have to muddle, then forget it.
Hey, you don't muddle enough. You don't muddle it. Just 1, 2, 3, done.
We muddle for an hour and a half every week.
That's true. Yeah,
that's true. All right. So what is yours?
I'm gonna say, because you're right about champagne. You can't drink champagne continuously. It's just it's no good. Yeah. But the toast of champagne. If you haven't had any before,
Right.
that
exactly.
one little
that sip of champagne in a champagne flute is really good.
It's wonderful and delicious.
And there are some good champagnes, by the way.
Some
There
great
are,
champagnes.
Well, that's the thing, right? Who drinks really? I've certainly never drank really good champagne on New Year's Eve. Maybe something halfway decent. How would I know? But that one, that toast is wonderful and delicious. And then after that, I don't want any more.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably just drink, I don't know, whatever.
I mean,
something with gin.
Something with gin.
Yeah. I'd rather toast with Prosecco or something like that. But yeah, there are some really good champagnes.
Yeah.
But,
and the fact that it is so different, I've never ever drink champagne any other time of the year.
No, I don't either.
Which we should.
Mine is definitely an old fashioned. For years I've been that's my New Year's Eve drink is an old fashioned. And sometimes it's not even where I need to even muddle, because I'll make my black walnut bitters maple old fashioned. So I use
walnut maple bitters old fashioned.
So maple syrup instead of simple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
Black walnut bitters instead of regular Angostura bitters. Bourbon and a Luxardo cherry. No orange. Just throw the cherry in there. So no muddling needs to be done. Just throw the cherry in there.
So a little less sweet, a little less acidic.
A little less acidic, yeah. So
and a little less sweet. The maple syrup is not quite as sweet as the simple syrup.
No. It's more subdued. And it's got the maple flavor to it too. It's such a good drink. But
what's your whiskey of choice?
It depends. Just a good bourbon. Anything that's not like run of the mill bourbon. I mean, Makers. Usually I'll go with.
Is an old fashioned always bourbon?
Yeah, well, you can use whiskey, but it's bourbon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A Manhattan is for whiskey.
Manhattan's whiskey. Manhattan can be bourbon too, but that's vermouth and that. So
I think it has a different name, right?
A whiskey Manhattan.
A bourbon Manhattan.
Bourbon Manhattan. That might be.
I think, or maybe it's not.
It's called the Staten Island.
It's called the Queens. It's called It's called an Uptown. So anyway, that was mine. And just for shiggles, if you will, what's your Harry? Go back to you. What's your favorite thing to eat on New Year's Eve?
I mean, there's a joke there, but I won't say it.
I'll put it in.
No, I don't know. If on a good New Year's, I'd probably go out to eat. And usually if I go out to eat, it's probably something Italian-ish. So I would say a good pasta.
There you go. Pete?
Trying to think of usually we have like the Hors d'oeuvres. It's like a
that's what I was gonna say. If this is my joke, is the Hors drawers.
Hors drawers. So a good bunch of hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, I mean probably because usually like my
Deviled
wife's
eggs.
family and her in-laws family. There's always, like, if we're having a party or a get together, whether it's a birthday or New Year's Eve, there's always snacks and hors d'oeuvres, and then there's a meal. But New Year's Eve is usually just snacks and hors d'oeuvres. Probably,
right.
You know what? I'll probably just say chicken wings.
All right, wings. There you go.
Because there's usually some chicken wings, and that's not something I eat a lot of, and it's not something we really make any other time of the year. You know, for like a birthday party or something like that. We don't really nobody makes chicken wings for Super Bowl and New Year's Eve. So
Super Bowl, New Year's Eve. Well, mine is I for a while we were going out on New Year's Eve to a place. Every year we went, and we were getting a nice like ribeye. But for me, New Year's Eve, throwback to my childhood, and even getting a little older there. And Chinese food.
Oh, some Chinese food.
Like Jade Fountain from North Arlington. The poo-poo platters. So it's like hors d'oeuvres, but Chinese hors d'oeuvres, if you will. That kind of thing. Shrimp toast, egg rolls.
So
or it
chicken
could
wings
be
with a different sauce.
chicken wings with a different sauce. There you go. There you go. So anyway, so that's fine. All right. There you go. That's our just a longie quickie.
There you go.
Read that. All right. That brings us to Pete's box over under.
Ah, okay.
Didn't even ask you because I saw the paper hanging.
There's the paper hanging here that has the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I was struggling to come up with something. Last week I sprinkled some money in front of the camera, but I was going to ask you how many bills that was, but that didn't seem fair. Plus, you could go back and look at the film and try and figure it out. So I was looking around and I came across this ratchet here on my desk. And it's a little one, not very big. That is, well, you know. So here's the thing. So so the over-under is, what size is the socket here?
What
Now, what do you
size
call
is
it?
that?
You call this a socket, right? This is the
Yeah.
ratchet.
Mhm.
Show us the end. Show us the end of it.
I can't show you I'll show you I want to make sure you can't read it because the size is written on the size. On the
No,
side.
I mean the actual opening.
Gotcha.
So this is the part that goes on the screw.
Right. Is it millimeters or inches?
It is standard measurement
Okay.
Mhm.
In this country.
in this country. Yes.
Okay.
Unstandard for almost the entire rest of the world.
Okay.
And again, here's a stapler. And you can see this is the baby.
Okay.
This
There
is
you
the
go.
baby ratchet.
All right.
So, what size is this?
All
And
right.
the over under is 5/16.
5/16. The over under.
Over under 5/16
Mm-hmm.
for the ratchet, and I'll spin it. Oh, I should have used this New Year's Eve.
There you go.
Whee! Happy New Year! All right, who wants to go first? John. Harry always goes first. So, John, you want to go first this week?
I'm gonna go under.
Going under 5/16 for the ratchet. Harry, do you believe it's under, or do you want to go over just in case?
I'm
You
going to
wanna
go
try and
over.
win.
I think
You're
it's
going to go over.
I think it's 3/8.
3/8, which would be 6.
Which would be a 1/16 bigger than 5/16. Would be 6.
All right.
16ths.
That's why I said over.
Got it. Well, let me pull down the note here, and I will reveal that the actual size. And I did this.
I saw it. I'm like, that's a quarter. So that's why I said it.
It is a quarter.
There you go. John won.
Yeah. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta get this in the light. Quarter inch.
Quarter.
So I was off by 1/8 of an inch.
You were off by 1/8 of an inch.
I can put this up. Yeah, you'll never be able to see it. Anyway, it says a quarter. So there we go. Well done.
I try.
You get nothing. Oh, hey, did I show you my little egg thing? Oh, I showed you this. Yeah,
Oh, yes.
I gave these out at Christmas. Big
Yes.
hit. Big hit.
They were good, huh?
Yeah.
Everybody who subscribes to your OnlyFans.
OnlyFans got one, exactly.
Yes. I also have some ancho chili beef jerky. A lot of beef jerky exchanged for Christmas here in the Minetti household.
It's like a Turkish prison.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, this is currency. So
Beef jerky.
All right.
The Minetti euro.
The Minetti
Beef
euro.
jerky.
yeah, I don't try and bribe my sons with, you can use the car or I'll pay you money or whatever. I go, you can have this thing of beef jerky if you go do this for me. And they're like, okay.
All right. Well, on that note,
Well, there you go. Maybe
I think
we
we're
should
good.
Get them as a sponsor.
We should get the. Actually, we should. We should work on that.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky.
Is it made in prison? There's a joke there.
Yeah, well, there's an obviously stereotypical Mexican bull with a sombrero and the pistolero.
Is it bull jerky?
I don't think so.
Is it a jerky
Biltong.
bowl?
What's biltong?
Biltong. I don't know.
Air dried beef biltong anchovia. That's the name of it, anchovia.
Biltong is that like bull tongue.
Is it biltong? I have to look at
Biltong,
Maybe I don't want to know.
Yes. Biltong is a form of dried cured meat originated in South Africa.
Yeah.
Various types of meat are used to produce it, ranging from beef to game meat, such as ostrich and kudu. The cut may also vary, either fillets or meat cut into strips following the grain of the muscle, or flat pieces sliced across the grain. It is related to beef jerky in that they are both spiced, dried meats. However, the typical ingredients, taste, and production processes may differ. The word bilbong is from the Dutch by buttock and long strip. So it's butt strip.
There you go.
All right, here we go. Jerky is sliced meat that's marinated in various spices and then cooked with heat. It's dry and chewy in the best ways possible. Biltong is shredded meat that's cured in vinegar and air dried, making it softer and saltier, which is actually our usual Tuesday night theme: softer and saltier.
Softer and saltier. There you go.
You mean Wednesday night's theme?
No, his Tuesday night.
No, the only fan. Only
fan
night theme. Softer and saltier.
Yeah, Tuesday night you got the softer and saltier. Friday is Fondue Friday.
Fondue Friday.
Right.
Yep.
Do you ever? I mean, there's always beef jerky involved.
Always, every night.
There's always some sort of beef involved.
There's always
jerky, and usually jerky too.
Yeah,
exactly.
It depends on how it's shredded and pulled.
Exactly. All right. On that note,
I think we've had more than enough fun.
We will wrap up the show for today. We want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. And of course, all of the shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with video podcasts on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night, about 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, and iHeartRadio as well. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. Once again, Happy New Year to everybody out there that's been listening. And got a lot of good stuff coming up for you in 2023. So just, gear up. All right. Anyway, have a great weekend, folks, and we will talk to you soon. Take care. Cheers.
Our next show is just Pete eating biltong.
Just Pete eating biltong or biltong.
Doesn't make you have to spit, though.
Doesn't.
I don't know, in the movies, they always chew the jerky and they
spit. Yeah.
Or is that tobacco?
That's
tobacco. Yeah. I don't spit. I enjoy it.
I think you'll get more fans if you swallow.
There you go.
What are you giving away my secrets for?
Good night, folks.
You've ruined the suspense.
Just trying to help you out, buddy.
See you later, folks. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.